Todd on there, he's the rezone request, so he must be remote too.
Yep, and Duke's on as well.
Okay. All right, whoops. From my voice. It's 9:00 and I will call to order the Land Use and Information Committee meeting for August 5th, 2025. Notice has been posted in accordance with statute 19.84 open meetings law. At this point in the agenda, we have an opportunity for public comments. If anyone wishes to make public comments that are not specific to an agenda item on the public hearing, so it's just simply a rezoning and an ordinance amendment package. I think we have a gentleman here who would like to speak a few minutes about salvage yards.
Yep,
Could you come up and introduce yourself for the record, and then you have 3 minutes to go.
I own Sam's Auto Salvage. I've been in business now since 1985. I live just out of town of Grantsburg in the town of Anderson. I'm right in the little corner of where they connect and they meet. I've run the salvage to whatever person wants to get rid of junk, whatever that they want to get rid of. It's all recycled and salvage is as one. Everything that I take in is recycled or salvaged out. If somebody needs help, I got that service too. I take in auto repair, you name it, anything that does with junk or salvage, that's what I do.
Okay, and then you explained earlier you're licensed and have been licensed.
I am licensed since 1985. And I also have the water pollution runoff permits. I pay my taxes every year, just to open my yard every year. It costs me over $700. I can see if it was in the town or the village, Grantsburg, Siren, Anderson, to have a salvage yard. That I can see where it's different than being out of town, out in the no man's land, where I'm not hurting anybody, I'm not doing anything wrong. I try to keep up with the laws and the rules and the regulations.
Okay. So I don't think there's nothing specific to your property on the agenda or anything like that today. So you're just bringing this up as a information for us, correct?
Well, when you bring up the fact of being junk and salvage, that does deal with me because I am in that business and that line of work to take care of that. It's better than taking it and throwing it in the landfill and having somebody else deal with it.
Sure. Well, we're not, we're looking at making some amendments to the ordinance to clarify and add definitions, but we're not prohibiting or regulating.
Now, it depends on what you want for definitions of what junk is and salvage is. They're both the same.
Yeah, we're
We're
using,
recycling it back into the community.
right, we're using the state standard definitions. We're keeping them both in the ordinance.
Yep,
And so, but we're just trying to clarify things.
yep.
But that-
They're both the same thing
Right.
when it comes to the junk. It's one man's junk is another man's treasure.
Yeah, but for
If you're
sure.
into the business.
Right, anyway, I think at this point, we're gonna bring this up again as we go through the amendments to the ordinance.
Yep,
And then you may want to comment at that time again.
that's fine.
I think we're pretty close to the 3 minutes now, are we not? Let's see, there we are. So you're gonna have a kick at the cat later if you need it.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Okay, anybody else here for public comments? Hearing none, I'll move on to an approval of the agenda order.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Supervisor Szymanski, seconded by Supervisor Chuck Anderson. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Minutes of the July 1st, 2025 meeting. I believe we have a minor amendment added to a draft that we have in hard copy, or I have. Everybody have.
Yes.
So That was just clarification of screening on the conditional use permit out in the town of Scott. So any further discussion of the minutes?
So I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Motion by Supervisor Blomberg to approve the amended version of the minutes. Second,
I'll second that.
Supervisor Aqua Anderson. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? We're on to the public hearings. And at this point, I'm going to recuse myself for the rezoning request because since the applicant made that request, my son-in-law and daughter own the adjoining property. And while it's I'm not the owner, but it's probably appropriate as a propriety of it to recuse myself for now. So take it away, Karen. I'll start out.
So I'll read the
Yeah.
public hearing notice, yeah. Notice of public hearing, State of Wisconsin, County of Burnett, Tuesday, August 5th, 2025 at 9 AM at the Burnett County Government Center, room 165, Town of Mean, Severn, Wisconsin, regarding the following. Burnett County Land Use Shoreline Protection Ordinances. Number 1, map amendment MAP 2505 Alpha Hotel Air Park LLC to rezone the parcel with tax ID 18087, being part of the east half of the southwest quarter, section 16, town 40 north, range 14 west, located in the town of Scott, from C1 commercial and RR3 residential recreation to all RR3 residential recreation zoning district. Zoning change requested by Todd Litfin on behalf of Alpha Hotel Air Park LLC. Number 2, text amendment TXT 2501 Burnett County Land Use Ordinance, Chapter 30, various items in Articles 1 and 2. Public notice hereby given to all persons in Burnett County, Wisconsin, that the Land Use and Information Committee is proposing to amend the Burnett County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 30, various items in Articles 1 and 2.
Okay, so for the map amendment 2505 Alpha Hotel Air Park LLC, is the applicant here or online? Online. Can you hear us?
Good morning. Yes, this is Todd. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can you tell us about your application?
Yes. Well, good morning, everyone. So originally this parcel, I guess many years ago, was zoned commercial, and I've had no intention of putting anything commercial on it at all. And then I had a person that had some interest in the property. And then that's when I found out it was zoned commercial. So they would like to buy some of the parcel, and that's why I was requesting a rezone to RR3 for residential use.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Anyone on the committee have questions for the applicant? Okay, if not, we might, call you back to ask you a couple questions here. So just stay online and listen.
Sure.
And so, public hearing, do we have anyone, I suppose we have to open the public hearing. We'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here or online that wishes to speak to, the map amendment? Okay, since there aren't any, we can just go to committee discussion.
You close the public hearing. then.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
We'll close the public hearing.
there you go.
Thank you, Jason.
Yep.
And then just any discussion or questions. It seems pretty straightforward. Do we have any communication from anybody else?
There's no correspondence from the town or anyone else.
And basically, when I look at the staff recommendations, all local, county, state, and federal requirements for this activity. So I don't know if anyone else has any questions or concerns.
I don't.
If not, we could probably entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve map 2505, rezone from C1 to RR3 to be all RR3.
And then include the staff recommendation.
Yep, one recommendation, follow all county, state, and federal recommendations for this activity, requirements for this activity.
I'd like to second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Supervisor Szymanski and a second by Supervisor Blomberg.
And that would be a motion to recommend approval to county board.
Yeah,
Correct.
Recommend approval to county board. Thank you, Jason, for keeping us on the straight and narrow here. Any further discussion on that?
as you said, the word straightforward, I think that is very much applicable to this.
Okay, and we pretty much always do a roll call vote. So Supervisor Conroy has excused himself. So Chuck Anderson,
Yes, approved.
Supervisor Blomberg,
Yes.
Supervisor Szymanski,
Yes.
Supervisor Moyer,
Yes.
Supervisor Tucker,
Yes.
and Supervisor Lockwood Anderson, yes. That motion has passed and will go on to the county board.
So Todd, I will go to county board essentially on your behalf. You don't have to go there. And then it'll be on their agenda for whatever the third
Yeah.
Thursday of the month is. So then after that, I'll send you a letter if it's approved.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Am I able to do any survey actions or anything on the parcel, or should I wait until I get your approval here towards the end of the month?
I mean, I guess I would start because I don't see it being denied by the county board.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all your help.
Okay, now we're gonna hand the gavel back over to to the chair. Supervisor Con-
I'll turn my voice back
Okay.
on. I had to be careful out in the hall. I wouldn't want to speak and.
I've heard stories about having an open microphone.
Yes,
Somebody
exactly.
wandering off and
Okay,
talking.
so now we're on the item B of our agenda, ordinance amendments. We've been working on a package of text amendments for a while, working on clarifying definitions and providing some additional zoning districts to provide for more flexibility and less regulation in many ways by allowing for some minor personal use agricultural type operations without going through a formal approval at the committee level. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jason to start the process of going through the amendments.
Alrighty. Well, we'll start going through page by page here. Items that are highlighted in yellow are proposed additions. Items highlighted in green with the strike through would be items to remove. And then there might be a few items that are like a cyan blue color, which are some notes or some general comments or questions that I might have. So, all right, page 2. We added a definition of animal unit. And that is from that table in NR 243, table 2A, when we talk about how many chickens and goats and sheep and horses is an animal unit. That's where that comes from. Automobile graveyard, we added that definition. So that is actually a state definition from statute 8431 Pren 2. So you'll see that in there. Page 3. Added a definition of a boarding house. We have that in our code and we didn't really have a definition of that, so we're trying to clean that up as well. Lines 14, 15, 17, 18, 23, 29, just added Wisconsin Administrative Code after all those code references in there. Line 31 added the definition of cannery. Again, that's explained in our ordinance, but we had no definition of it. Lines 32 through 34, this is one of our fun ones. We have a definition of a chicken. So chicken is a type of domesticated bird kept for eggs and its meats. Male chicken is a rooster, female chicken's a hen. Chicken is not a turkey, duck, goose, pheasant, squab, guinea fowl, peafowl, ostrich, emu, or ray. Line 41, we had a definition of condensory. That was a word that was already in our ordinance, but it wasn't defined. Page 4, line 12, again, added definition of creamery. Again, that was a word that was in our ordinance already, but was not defined. Lines 14 through 16 added the definition of developable area. And that comes into play a lot of times with our campgrounds, because those have and mobile home parks, or manufactured home parks, I should say. Those have units, so many units are allowed per developable area. So developable area means after you subtract out navigable water, wetlands, floodplain easements, right-of-way slopes, and setbacks. So that after you subtract all that stuff off of a parcel, that's the developable area that's left. Next is page 6. Lines 9 through 10, added the definition of illegal junkyard. And that's again from Wisconsin statute 8431-2. We struck the definition of junkyard where it was on line 11. We did put another definition below that. Lines 12 and 13 added the definition of junk. Again, that's from statute 8431-2. Lines 14 through 20 added the definition of junkyard. Again, this is the state definition from 8431-2. And I know in the past we had talked about how salvage yard was kind of a vague definition. You know, when I read the definition of junkyard, so this is one of my notes, it seems kind of vague as well. Because it doesn't have numbers or anything defined in that definition.
Doesn't have any boundaries either, does it? Or is it just property that it's on the premise?
Well, it just says means any place which is owned, maintained, operated, or used. So I mean, that's covers a lot of things.
I think part of that discussion pertained to that we have like a conditional use permit for a salvage yard. And that makes more sense to call it that than to call it a conditional use permit for a junkyard. I think that was part of the reason we wanted to define things, separate definitions, particularly since the state has defined them. And we need to stay consistent with state statutes.
But anyway, you're doing this so that it conforms to whatever the state's definition is.
Correct.
And where it states that the definition does not include litter, trash, and other debris, I'm assuming that's addressed somewhere else.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a nuisance, like a public health nuisance would be those type of things, you know. And then lines 22 through 24, this is just I put the definition of salvage yard there, just so you could see, compare junkyard versus salvage yard. Lines 40 and 41. So this is under the definition of maintenance and repairs. We added a sentence in there that says maintenance and repairs are exempt from needing a land use permit as long as no structural components are altered, modified, repaired, or replaced. Line 43, manure management, added that just definition for C chapter 18 of the Burnett County ordinance, because that's the ordinance that talks about that item. Page 7. Added the definition of navigable waters, which is defined in Wisconsin Code NR 115.03 Line 16, added the definition of non-metallic mineral. That's defined as NR 135.03 Line 17, added the definition of non-metallic mining. That's NR 135.03 Again, you'll see a lot of this stuff, we're adding definitions to mirror what the state has for definitions. Lines 37, 38, underneath the definition of quarry, just added the sentence that metallic mining is excluded from this definition of quarry. So metallic mining, a quarry, what we have typically in Burnett County is your sand and gravel, essentially operations. Those are what we have. Metallic mining is a whole another, that's copper, gold, those type of materials. That has a whole set of regulations by the state of Wisconsin.
Now, years ago, over a century ago, we had a so-called copper paint mine north of Grantsburg. What would that fall under?
Copper and metallic, I would have to think.
Yeah, but is it more of like the clay-ish stuff that they were kind of mining out of there though? Not like actual metal?
But like the paint mine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole
It
different
was iron.
thing.
Yeah,
It
iron.
was a raw iron coming
That's-
out of the soil, much related to the
that's-
water
yeah,
project
that's,
I've been working in, and it was used for a pigment for paint.
Yeah,
That's why they call
red-
it the paint mine.
Red ochre.
Yeah, and it was really long lasting. I think that probably hurt their business because it lasted for so long.
Yeah, and that's a natural iron washing out of the soil, and it was used for a pigment for paint, giving that area the name the paint mines, which is located just west of my house down the end of Bistrom Road. So yeah, it's a natural mineral, iron.
That probably is the one that doesn't fit any definition actually, because it's not iron ore, it's iron oxide. Right? Anyway.
Well, it's really good for making paint, not so good for drinking water.
Nobody was making any metal out of it.
Page 8. Added the definition of resort. That was a word that was used in the ordinance already, so we added that definition for a little clarity.
Question,
Not many resorts left in Burnett County, but yes.
can a resort have campsites?
Yeah, but it has to be permitted as both ways.
So you'd have to.
We have to get a conditional use permit and state licenses, because the state looks at those as different items as well.
Yeah, a resort that had a campground with it had both licenses.
Mhm.
So there's two components of a single operation.
Because most of the big resorts I think of have RV sites, campsites, hotel, cabins.
Mhm.
Right, all of the above, yeah.
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 Okay.
I have a question regarding resorts.
Oh, okay, go ahead, do.
Okay, it's come to my attention that possibly we have an application right now for a resort. I don't know if that's the case or not, but is that the reason for us bringing this resort definition in? Is there an application we haven't heard yet regarding a resort?
Not that I'm aware of. We always had that as a conditional use permit though, I think. It was included in a litany of other things. In our.
This term came about as I was cleaning up all the definitions. That's why, we have non-metallic mining, or non-metallic mineral, non-metallic mining, navigable waters. So it was really just going through and trying to find words in our ordinance that were not defined and tried to clean that up.
Okay.
That's why we added creamery and condensery, and because those words were already in the ordinance but did not have clear definitions.
Right,
Okay,
and
I was
You
just
never-
thinking that being we're adding a new definition, there was maybe a pending issue that brought that to light, that where we brought it into the document, but okay.
There again, it's just a point of clarification.
Yep.
It's been-
Same thing with right below rooming house. That's a word that's already in the ordinance, but it never had a definition. So
May I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead.
On page 6, under line 40 and 41, maintenance and repairs are exempt from needing a land use permit as long as no structural components are altered, modified, repaired, or replaced. Last month, we had detailed discussion on
Right.
this item, and it was, the no was supposed to be replaced to minor. Was my understanding, was there something that had transpired after that, or?
No, I mean, I think is the case here is that's something they'll take.
because I had to notice this prior to last month's meeting, and
Right.
I can't change this document once it's noticed.
Okay.
Right, I was gonna say that's gonna be coming as a comments from our hearing today.
Okay,
And that continues the hearings accumulatively, really, not just today. To make a correction for that before we send it, the final draft off.
thank you.
But we didn't, because the noticing requirements are real fussy about this stuff. That even though we all agreed we should do it, if we changed it without somebody would look at it and say, it didn't say that last time I read it, right?
Sure,
So that's the reason, yes.
thank you.
So that can be revisited then later on in
Yeah, after we
the meeting and then.
combined our public hearing comments and made a correction. that we-
So I'm guessing how envisioning, I'm gonna go through this whole thing, and then you're gonna open the public hearing, and we're gonna go through whatever items we need to go through again.
Right,
Yep.
right.
Thank you.
That was the only one I had on my list so far, so.
Let's see, page 8, 22 through 25. Added the definition of scrap metal processor. Again, that's state definition 8431 paren 2. Lines 41, 42 added the definition of solar panel. Line 43, 44 added the definition of solar roof shingle. And then that continues on line 1 and 2 of page 9. Line 23 added the page 9, line 23 added the definition of tourist rooming house or tourist home, sorry. Again, that was a word that was already in the ordinance, added the definition. Lines 33 through 35 added the definition of wind power or wind energy. So that pretty much is all the definition stuff. Page 10, lines 5 through 6, added the sentence, the county board does by enactment of ordinance number 2404, formerly adopted Burnett County Comprehensive Plan 2024-2044 pursuant to Wisconsin statute 66-1001 paren 4 paren C. And so that's referencing our comp plan revision update that we just did. So bringing that into the ordinance.
Replaces our
Reference.
2010-30 language. Right.
Well, it's kind of added it to it because the 2010 was. I mean, we did an update really in 2024. I don't think we completely redid because we referenced some of the old maps that were in the
right.
2020 or
I mean,
2010 plan.
So just bringing it up to date.
Yes, bringing, so it's kind of bringing both of them in.
Yeah.
Yep.
I misstated that, sorry.
Yeah, the 2010 comprehensive plan, that was pretty extensively revised from the previous one that we had.
Yes.
That was a major revision.
And there's still maps, some of the townships are still using those future land use maps from that.
And then as they update them, and we add them into the
Yep.
new plan, so.
Chart in section 30-27. So the yellow stuff added, what the minimum lot areas are for all those districts. Added the RR4, RR5, RR6, A5 and F2, so those are the new zoning districts. And then on the left side, it's a matter of just renumbering those sections. And then that continues on to page 11. Page 11, lines 8 through 11. That was adding where the zoning maps can be found at and putting in the link. And then the wetland maps, that was a bad hyperlink in there. So we struck out the old one and put in the correct one. All right, page 12. So this is in the RR1, RR2, and RR3 zoning districts. So essentially the residential zoning districts that go from 30,000 square feet, the smallest, to 5 acres for the largest one of those. Lines 4 and 5 added the sentence there about a land use permit is needed for ground or roof solar up to 10 kilowatt in size. Lines 9 and 10 added a note, so this is under the section about short-term rentals, just says that the property owner should contact the town to see if they have additional requirements for this activity. So that's just a clarification to make sure the owners are contacting their township. Lines 11 through 13. So this is a section about chickens. So up to 10 chickens for personal use are allowed. These chickens must be confined within a fenced area and are not allowed within 75 feet of the ordinary high water mark of any navigable water body, no roosters and no guinea fowl on parcels less than 5 acres. Lines 14 through 18. So this talks about on parcels that are larger than 5 acres. So I might have like a 40 that's zoned RR3. So it's a 40-acre parcel. I could split it down into RR3 if I wanted to, but it's larger than 5 acres. So on those parcels that are 5 acres or larger, up to a maximum of 5 animal units for personal use are allowed. These animals, except chickens, must be confined within a fenced area, and none of these animals are allowed within 75 feet of the ordinary high water mark of any navigable water body. Once over 2 animal units, the owner must contact the Burnett County Conservation staff to discuss manure management. See other requirements as listed in chapter 18 of Burnett County ordinance. Then lines 19 through 23. So how the current ordinance works is agricultural items are exempt from needing land use permits when you're in an agricultural district. So we're just adding some clarity here that if you're doing these agricultural type practices in the RR3, that you don't need permits as long as the 100% ag use. So agricultural fencing and agricultural buildings are exempt from needing land use permit in the RR1, RR2, RR3 districts, as long as the fencing and building is 100% agricultural use. And as long as the agricultural fencing and agricultural buildings meet all of the requirements. Fencing must follow setbacks as listed in section 30-490. Agricultural buildings in RR1, 2, and 3 must meet all setbacks, floodplain requirements, and are limited to a height of 40 feet.
I have a question on that one.
Yep.
So let's say it starts out as an agriculture building, property sold, just turns into a garage, then do they then need to permit it after the fact?
Correct.
Okay.
Lines 36 through 40. So this is under the conditional use permits in the RR1, 2, and 3. So we added some language here. So livestock, other than what is allowed in section 30-84, so you no longer need a CUP if you can follow the limits that are in sections 8, 9, and 10. Up to a maximum of, so then if you want to go more than 30-84, then you can ask for a CUP to go up to a maximum of 10 animal units for personal use. Added once over 2 units, the owners must contact the Burnett County Conservation staff to discuss manure management, and then see other requirements as listed in chapter 18 of the Burnett County ordinance.
Sorry, to backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to track that? I'm just thinking from a real estate perspective, if someone someone buying a piece of property, are they going to know? Or it's like, could they, they don't need a permit, but could they just say, hey, county, this is a list of our agricultural buildings? I'm just wondering if it's just if it adds confusion.
It shouldn't happen really all that often, but it could, but it's
I mean, and everything under 100 or every accessory structure under 100 square feet in size is exempt from needing permits anyhow. So I don't envision a whole lot of people building things bigger than 100 square feet in size for an agricultural.
thinking about like a 3-sided shelter for horses
Yeah,
type of thing, that if you're gonna make it into a garage, probably gonna be a permit to add to it anyway, I mean, the odds of it being something, no one's gonna have a big milking parlor or anything, I don't think. Because keep in mind, it's all for personal use.
yeah.
We should clarify for people that we've been cautioned by council that if we have, we can't really allow commercial farming in a residential district. That's contrary to the ag policy type of thing. So what we're trying to do is accommodate people who want to have a small operation and a few animals and that kind of thing. And not burden them with, well, I want to make 120 square foot chicken coop instead of 100 square foot chicken coop. They can still do that. I guess if that one fell through the cracks, it wouldn't be that serious anyway.
I'm just trying to avoid, I just feel like we encounter, people who inadvertently have illegal buildings, like they go for a variance and they have no idea, and how would they ever have an idea? It wasn't permitted, but I suppose maybe if it becomes an issue, we'll address it.
I mean, all of our permits are online, so people can do research, they can call us, email us, ask us questions.
Well, when we get to issuing those kind of permits, we could make a note on issuance of the permit that should this building be converted into other than the
Well, we won't be
required.
issuing a permit
They don't
though.
need a permit.
Yeah,
I'm guessing what would happen if we did, let's let's say they did a permit for a garage, and I'm guessing when we would do our site visit, we're gonna make a note that, oh, there's a 10 by 20 shed here that's a chicken coop, so we're gonna write on their egg use, chicken coop. So then that's gonna be scanned in with our permit paperwork going forward, so if somebody looks at that permit in 5 or 10 years and goes, oh, what's that building? Oh, it was a chicken coop, it didn't need permits, so.
Yeah,
Are stuff gonna fall through the cracks? Yeah, does, no matter what we do, so. Page 13. Line 2, we struck the word only for a grammatical error, I guess you could say, or just didn't sound correct. Lines 18 through 20. This added the solar and wind energy greater than 10 kilowatt. So again, this is under the CUP section. So if they want to go bigger than 10 kilowatt, then they come in for a CUP. Under 10 kilowatt, they can do permitting, land use permits. All right, next section there, line 22, it starts. This is division 3 sections or zoning districts RR4, 5, and 6. So these are new zoning districts that were not in there before. So the RR4, that's meant to be the residential up to 10 acres, RR5 residential up to 20, and RR6 residential up to 38. What we're trying to do is basically it's 40-acre residential. We didn't put the word 40 in there because some 40s are slightly short. They're not exactly 40 acres. So starting at line 33, then we have the permitted uses. So you can do a single family dwelling, carports, garages, horticulture, gardening, essential services. With permits, they can do a solar up to 10 kilowatt. Customary accessory unit uses. Forest management, private residence for recreational rentals, so short-term rentals. They can have up to a maximum of 10 animal units for personal use. And then we got the same section in there about the agricultural fencing and agricultural buildings are exempt. As long as it's 100% ag use, blah, blah, blah. Line 12 starts the CUP section in the RR4, 5, and 6. So this, we essentially have the telephone power transmission poles. That's the same as what is in the RR1, 2, and 3. The home occupations, again, that's the same language from RR1, 2, and 3. Public and semi-public uses, same language. Number 4, operate an animal control facility, again, the same language from RR1, 2, and 3. And then the solar wind energy greater than 10 kilowatts. Line 34, that's just since we had a new section, we're changing the division number from 3 to 4.
The term telephone poles, that's kind of my grandfather term. I don't know. Maybe Duke can tell us if there are any telephone poles in Burnett County anymore.
There are very, very few telephone poles. So I would tell you that in our service territory around Grantsburg, the 350 square miles, I know of one overhead communications wire.
Thank you.
you're not likely to be putting any back up either, right?
Let's see, so now we go to page 16. So this is in the exclusive ag district. So this came about from our large livestock animal sighting group that was out a couple years ago, where they changed what items, the licensing and citing of those, I should say. So we added the reference there, see other requirements enlisted in chapter 18, because that's where all that citing, manure management, all those activities are listed. And then we struck the section farms with more than 250 units will require a conditional use permit from the Land Use and Information Committee. And that's an exclusive ag that we're talking about for that. Page 17. Again, struck that, we're still in exclusive ag, so struck that farms with more than 250 animal units. And then we had to renumber past that for removing that item.
Just a question of curiosity backing through that, let's see. Previous page on line 4, one roadside stand per farm, but not more than 300 square feet. Would that kind of keep us from getting in the pickle that Washburn got into? Could they be selling roadside stand?
What page is it?
Page 16.
16.
Used solely for the sale of products more than 50% of which were produced on the premise. So I guess I don't know exactly what,
I don't think it would, think that's a problem because the issue with Washburn was exclusively produced on the farm or the property. And there's some kind of an exemption statutorily, I think, from some gossip I've been listening to and not verifying. That the county was wrong, was trying to prohibit that.
Yep.
And I think we wouldn't have ever done that anyway.
Okay.
So.
we're on page 19. Again, just had to do some renumbering of sections there. Page 20. So this is in the A2 zoning district, so your 10-acre essentially ag district. So lines 8 through 13. We changed the 250 maximum of 250 to 500. Added the sentence greater than 250 is subject to chapter 18 of the Burnett County ordinance. Struck the section farms with more than 250 animals to a maximum up to 500 animal units shall require approval by conditional use permit from the land use and information committee. Again, that is changes that came out from our citing ordinance amendments.
Maybe, Jason, maybe it'd be a good time to point out where those numbers come from, because they're gonna keep coming up. We had a citing ordinance long enough ago to be able to set it at 250 grandfathered in, because that's what we had done. This current state law otherwise would be 500. But that's our citing ordinance, which is not zoning but citing, drops down to 250. And so there was no real reason to have a conditional use anymore, because it would, really always get approved anyway. So it's a permitted use up to 500, but the citing ordinance regulations, which mirror the state regulations, start at 250. Go ahead, Ramona.
When you say permitted use in these different zoning districts, is that what's classified as what is allowed in that without a land use permit unless otherwise noted?
Well,
Is that?
not necessarily without a land use permit, but
You can't, like a one-family dwelling, you can't just go build a dwelling without getting a land use permit. But it's items that you don't have to go through a public hearing, essentially. It'd be administratively approved through the office, all of these
right,
activities. Yep.
and in the case of cattle, farming in general, there are other rules below 250. Best practices and all that stuff that come out of land and water, but there's no big deal about it at all up to 250. And then at that point, should we, and we're not seeing necessarily lots of big farms, but if we did, people trying to expand, that would hit up against the rules for a certain percentage of expansion before the citing ordinance kicks in, all that stuff that exists in the citing ordinance. Okay.
Let's see here. Lines 18, 19. Added with a land use permit, we talked about up to solar, up to 20 kilowatt. We added that or bumped that number up a little bit in the ag to allow for maybe some more intensive use with farming, more electricity demand, I should say. Lines 24, 25. This is just a note about the short-term rentals. Property owner should contact the town to see if they have additional requirements. Lines 27 through 29, again, struck that 250. Replaced it with 500 per what Craig basically just explained. Page 21. We're still in A2, line 34, just added the word non-metallic in front of mining. Because metallic mining is a whole separate entity. Page 22. Line 15, struck that section 13 there, farms with more than 250 animal units, again, because of what Craig explained. And then line 16 through 18, if they want to have solar or wind bigger than 20 kilowatts, then they come through for a CUP. Line 20 or page 23. So this is in the A4 district. There's not very much land that's actually zoned A4 in Burnett County. But we made these changes as well. Lines 14 through 18, again, changed the animal units from 250 to 500, greater than 250 kicks in chapter 18. Lines 23 through 25. Added, again, they can do solar up to 20 kilowatts. Lines 29 through 31, again, adjusted that language from the 250 to 500. Page 25. We're still in A4. Line 1, added the word non-metallic in front of mining. Line 11, struck the 250 animal units. Lines 12 through 14, added the solar wind. If they want to go greater than 20 kilowatts, then they go through the CUP process. All right, page 27. Starting on line 14, this is a new zoning district that we're adding, A5. It's essentially like a 40-acre ag / residential. So it's kind of like A2, but with a 40-acre minimum, essentially. So we have the purpose, we have the permitted uses, 1 family dwelling, ag up to 500, roadside stands, cemeteries, mausoleums, essentially services, customary accessory uses, forest management programs. So a lot of that is the same language from A2. Short-term rentals, the next page there, line 1 through 3. And then lines 4 and 5 is any permitted use under exclusive ag, except no more than 500 animal units. So it's a cap on no more than 500 animal units in this A5 district, similar to A2 cap. Here's the conditional use considerations, lines 6 through 24. Lines 25 through 38 are the various conditional use permits in that A5. Again, a lot of this mirrors what was in A2. Next page, page 29, continuing with the conditional uses, same things, lines 1 through 14. Mirroring the things that are in A2. Lines 15 through 30, that's conditions attached to conditional uses. So these are items that the committee can consider when it's reviewing conditional use permits. Line 31, 32 is just a renumbering issue. Page 30. So now we are in the commercial C1 district. So lines 22 through 24 added language about solar. With a land use permit, they can go up to 100 kilowatts. So again, this is a commercial district. So if you envision something like a Four Winds Market wanting to do solar, they're obviously going to need a lot more solar than a house would need to try to power that big of a facility. Lines 24 25-26 in our adult theme stores, we added the RR 456A5 and took out A3. A3 is a zoning district that was removed. With our last amendment, I believe. Line 30, adult entertainment facilities, added the RR 456A5 and took out the A3 in there as well. Page 31, line 24, that's just a renumbering. Page 32. So this is industrial district. Line 13, we struck the word salvage yard, added the word automobile graveyards. And then I have a note in there, we have to modify section 30-540 because we didn't open that section yet, so that'll just be a future change we'll have to do. And then I had a question of, do we want to put junkyards in here as well? Line 15, added the word non-metallic in front of mining. Line 24 is a renumbering issue. Page 33, so now we are in the F1 district. F1 is essentially the 20-acre forestry district. Lines 5 through 7 added about solar, they can go up to 20 kilowatts with a permit. Lines 10 and 11 added the note, property owner to contact the town to see if they have additional requirements for that activity, that's short-term rentals. Lines 12 through 14 added about how many, they can have up to 10 animal units for personal use. See other requirements is listed in chapter 18 Burnett County Ordinance. And then I just added a note in there, if they have more than 10 more than 10 acres and they want to have more than 10 animal units, then they should ask for rezone to A2. Because that would be the more appropriate zoning district. Line 19 took out the word plants and added the. So dams for the production of electric power and flowage areas. This is under the conditional use items in F1. Lines 20 through 23. The yellow in there and the green are the changes, but this was already changed in the prior ordinance amendments a couple of years ago. So this is an error from Unicode.
Right, this is correcting an
error.
language from the wrong district being
Correct.
inserted.
Yep. 32 added the word non-metallic in front of mining. 33 struck the word plants and added dams. Page 34. Lines 13 through, section 13, lines 3 through 5. Added the word on parcels under 10 acres, they can have up to a maximum of 10 animal units for personal use. See other requirements is listed in chapter 18. So this is in the CUP section of the ordinance. So an F1 parcel is supposed to be a 20-acre parcel. And this is basically saying if they're a non-conforming parcel, so under 10 acres in size, they can go up to 10 units for personal use going through the CUP process. Lines 6 through 8 added the solar and wind up to or over 20 kilowatts is a conditional use. Line 10 is a renumbering. Line 11, this is a new district, F2 forestry. So this is essentially the 40-acre forestry district. So we have lines 12 through 16 is just the purpose statement. Lines 17 through 32 are the permitted uses. So again, forestry, harvesting of crops, hay, ferns, moss, berries, tree fruits, tree seeds, recreational trails, wildlife refuge, single family dwelling, horticulture, gardening, essential services and utilities, accessory uses, private residence for rentals, and up to 10 animal units. So again, that is mirroring same language from F1 to that section. Line 33, 34, that's the beginning of the CUPs section. Page 35, lines 1 through 23, those are the various CUP items in the F2. So a lot of these mirror what is already in the F1 district. Public-private parks, playgrounds, dams, campgrounds, forest-connected industries, camps, stables, shooting, quarrying, residence for the caretaker of those dams or recreational areas, telephone power transmission lines, airports, animal control facility, and then solar over 20 kilowatts. Lines 24, 25 is just a renumbering issue. Page 36, so this is in the W1 Resource Conservation District, so we just, again, like we did in the other section, struck out the word plants on line 8.
What does the W in W1 mean?
Good question. Water, but it's resource conservation. Other counties called it RC, you know, don't know why. Jim didn't know either, I don't think.
That was the letter that someone picked in their, you know, the designation, W,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, well,
It
that's
predates everybody who has any remembrance of it.
great. Okay, thanks.
Let's see, let's continue on page 36, lines 9 and 10. So grazing was already a conditional use in there, just added the C requirements in chapter 18. Line 16 added the word non-metallic in front of mining. Line 22 is a renumbering issue. Page 38, line 27 is a renumbering issue. Page 39. Line 9 is a renumbering issue. Lines 16 through 18, so this is in the purpose statement of the Farm Preservation Overlay District. So since we added A5 and F2, we added those two districts in there since F1 was already one of the eligible districts as well. And then we have the list of the current towns that are in farmland preservation overlay. Just for clarity, I guess, for people. If any of these lists got the only reason I don't like adding lists like that is if a town comes in or goes out, then all of a sudden somebody's gonna look at our ordinance and, you know, we have to go in and technically amend it for one little change like that, but it does help people understand, cause a lot of times they call conservation department and ask, you know, am I eligible? I'm in this town. Am I in this zoning district? Am I eligible or not? So,
Yeah, the good example is Wood River is not,
yeah,
because it doesn't have comprehensive zoning
yeah,
and has a lot of
yeah,
eligible land should it be in the district.
yeah.
But anyway,
And lands that are enrolled in this farmland preservation gets some kind of a subsidy from the state then? Is-
I think
tax
they
break.
tax credits or something, I believe, yeah. Yeah, so much per acre. And then I think those rates change depending on what practice they're doing or what level they're in or something, so yeah.
Part of the reason we have that overlay district is like A2 isn't eligible because it allows too much non-ag stuff.
Yeah.
So we had to have the district, which essentially makes it like ag, and then they're able to enroll. And getting a new A5 district might help with that. Anyway,
Since it's for reference only, could you add a little parentheses that, you know, for reference?
Subject to change or
Sub-
something.
Yeah, for reference only, subject to change,
We could
because
probably add
it's
something like
helpful,
that.
but you don't want people to rely on it if
Yeah.
it's not true.
Yeah.
something to the effect of you need to verify. Be sure that this is at this point in time.
Yeah, once we go through, open the public hearing, I'll think of how a little note to add there or something. Page 40 is just a numbering issue, line 22. Page 41, line 13, numbering issue. Page 43, line 2 is a numbering issue. Lines 5 through 10, those are added there as blue notes because once we adopt these, RR 4, 5, 6, A5, F2, those have to be added into that table. So. Page 45, line 16 is a numbering issue. Is that it?
You backtrack on page 43, building height limits. Is that changed? Are they different? Is shoreland different? Well, I mean,
Well, the building height limit is 40 feet. There is a state law that says if you're within the 75-foot setback, then you're at a 35-foot height limit. And that is stated in chapter 45, our shoreland ordinance.
got it. And when they
Yep.
would go to get a permit, you would let them know that.
Yep.
Okay.
So I think that's it. And then you also have the memos in there from court counsel at the end of your items about the solar and the salvage stuff.
So with that, we've gone through what we're gonna do, so we now should open the public hearing on this. So,
Should we have a little break
sure,
before we get into the?
yeah, absolutely. We'll do a 15-minute break, then start the public hearing.
Thank you.
Hey, Craig. Do we wanna put the ordinance on the overhead?
Yes.
Good. Much comment we're gonna have, but wouldn't hurt me.
Yep, they're flying overhead, keep an eye on everything, and I don't believe in it.
All right, we're gonna call a public hearing, call the committee back into order. We had a little business to conduct on the side there. We're gonna commence the public hearing now for comments. And we're gonna attempt to share screen so you can see what it is as we bring up items that people want to discuss further.
Thank you.
So at this point, anyone has an issue they want to address? Come forward. Ramona, are you coming up?
Right corner.
For me, it was what we had previously talked about on page 6,
Okay,
line 40 and 41, changing the word in the
yeah,
repairs from
from
no to minor for.
minor
structural.
structural alterations are permitted.
Yeah.
Right, we did know that and had intended to bring that up. Because absolutely not a single 2x4 on a crack rafter wasn't what we meant to do.
Yeah,
So, but we still have to provide some discretion for staff to make the call on whether it's a whole roof or part of a roof or none of a roof or, you know,
I
that
just
kind of
did.
thing. Okay,
thank you.
so correction duly noted.
Sorry, I was distracted there. So we're gonna add the
The
word.
the language we had talked about on
What
minor,
was that?
minor structural alteration,
6.
Line 40 and 41.
right? Maintenance and repair can include minor structural alterations.
Maintenance and repairs are exempt from being a land use permit as long as no structural components are altered. So how do we want to change that wording?
Something to the effect of maintenance and repair may include minor structural alterations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
And we, you know, I don't know if that necessitates a definition of minor structural alteration, but I think that this is gonna be staff discretion. Somebody's got a couple of damaged trusses from a tree, of course they can fix those.
Or you could say no are not significantly altered, modified, repaired, or replaced.
I don't,
Go ahead.
I think any word,
Stephanie has got some advice.
So long as no more than minor structure alterations or repairs are made.
No other than minor? Maybe, I don't know.
maintenance and repairs are exempt from use. So permit so long as, what was that you were gonna?
Nothing greater than minor structural.
Or including minor structural alterations. Maintenance and repair.
Nothing greater than minor. Quoting our legal counsel, so.
Nothing greater than.
Curious about like a tree falling on a rough situation. The wording made sense to me.
It may be slightly vague, but maybe that's okay.
Or like if I run into the wall of a shed with the bucket and I break the beam, that should be able to be replaced without a land use permit.
I'm thinking of like the storm damage sort of things where you're like, I had a tree on my house, okay? And it blew down, and I had 2 or 3 trusses that were damaged, but we didn't replace them. We had for sure had to repair them because they were spongy, right? And so that, of course, we did, you know, and that no permits where we ever even thought of being necessary. But I think if you're gonna tear the roof off and put all the trusses on, then you've done a major structural alteration, right? Which could have been the case.
Can I do that?
Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, I guess for me, what the word maintenance and repairs are pretty much should cover it. If we're doing maintenance and repair, that should cover storm damage and those sort of things. We're not, you know, expanding or building new.
Yeah.
Could we just make it maintenance and repairs are exempt from needing a land use permit and leave it with that? Because we are talking about maintenance and repairs. We're not talking about, you know, adding on and those sort of things.
What is though? I guess for clarity, for my purposes, is repair if a building burns down and you rebuild it.
Well, or Craig's example of a tree falls on your roof and you gotta repair 6 trusses. That's major. You gotta
In
be-
Yeah,
your
and I-
eyes, but maybe
for
it's
me-
not in someone else's eyes.
Yeah,
Six
from
might
my-
not be so
from my
Structural
stand-
component that,
From my standpoint, when we're maintaining something or repairing something, you're putting it back to how it was. And to me, I guess I don't feel an individual or landowner should need a permit to repair or do maintenance on their home. If they're adding on, those sort of things, that's different. But maintenance and repairs are just that. But that's just my simplistic approach to it. Sometimes I think we get too many definitions to where we don't know what we're looking at, but maintenance and repair is exactly that, maintenance and repair.
Well, I mean, because we already say maintenance and repairs means things as remodeling, painting, decorating, paneling, plumbing, insulation, replacement of windows, doors, wiring, siding, roofing, and other non-structural components. So I think people are getting hung up on the other non-structural components because we're seeming to want to allow some minor structural components to be done, but we don't define minor or major.
Yeah,
And I was
Well-
just gonna have Stephanie repeat what she said, because it made sense when she said it, and I think we got bogged down in some, I mean.
I had said no greater than minor structural components are altered, modified, repaired, or replaced. I could see language saying, as long as only reasonable modification structures are altered, modified, repaired, or replaced. I take notice of Jason's point that at some point, there could be ambiguity with repair or replacement if there's, catastrophic loss.
Right.
Could there be a percentage of structural components?
That's
You
really
used-
hard to
Yeah,
Okay.
we used to have a lot of that, like more than 25% or 50%, and it was impossible to manage. It truly was. I think you just have to face that we need to provide some discretion with the staff to say that, if you're doing some work and you find remodeling inside an old conventional house with conventional rafters and inside the house bearing walls, moving around would be an alteration, right? But in reality, do we care? No, we don't. I think the key thing is to just go back to some form of minor structural component replacement is allowed and let the staff decide the extent of something,
it kind of does say that already, and it says and repair of cracks and foundation sidewalks, but it might be as simple as instead of having a comma before roof there, maybe have it say and roof, period. Get rid of the non-structural components because it already includes the repair of cracks and foundation, sidewalks, walkways.
Replace a rafter or a truss. I mean,
what if you just took out the word repaired and it said, as long as no structural components are altered, modified, or replaced?
But that's how it currently is.
yeah, you don't want it to be none because we're back to I've got a cracked truss from a tree on my roof. Now I need a permit to fix it, right?
No, because you're repairing that.
It specifies, so basically all you'd be doing is saying, you can repair a structural component, but you can't replace it or modify it,
To Duke's point.
Right.
right? I mean, so
Okay.
it would be removing that, repaired, that's at the end of the sentence.
Right.
Would that work?
So if I took out that
Right.
word. Then this, I added this, so we take that out, right? Maintenance repairs are exempt from being a land use permit as long as no structural components are altered, modified, or replaced.
Right, because they're already saying
Oh,
you could
okay.
So I
some
could
repair.
repair structural components.
Yeah, I get that, but by omission rather than by trying to define it, right? Yeah, and then that's back to discretion, and that's fine, right? Okay, everybody likes that, we'll proceed.
How does legal counsel view that?
I think it works.
Okay, thank you.
So that would be the modification, the stuff in green would be removed. All right. I think this is very helpful doing it on the screen at least, so everyone
Yeah.
can understand what we're talking about.
But that's very, and then we're just doing it now on the specific ones we have issues with. So we don't have to do read everything. Okay, but any next comment on anything in particular? Committee members or public?
I think we read it pretty good.
That was the one I had on my to-do list too. When I read through it again yesterday, and we needed to fix that.
We wanted to add a note in that one spot that Karen Wright brought up about the list of ones that are in farmland
Yeah,
preservation.
those various towns.
Yeah,
Um,
we could do something as of the date of adoption
yeah,
and say, check with,
Yeah, where was that?
it's further down here.
Page 39.
Yeah, getting there. It's not 28.
I should just put on the record, I was intended to before we adjourned it for the break, is that the reason for all these new districts is simply because of requests by the towns post comprehensive plan that they wanted some more options. So that's, none of them will take effect until somebody petitions to rezone to those new districts. We're not rezoning any land by adopting the districts, they're floating until someone chooses to seek them out. Swiss, Oakland for 2, Dewey and Roosevelt for 2 more for the ag. So that's why we did that.
So I would just add that note, this list is current as of August 25, verify after that date.
Yeah, perfect.
Did Jason get adequate direction from the color in cyan?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch. What page, where?
Let's see, what did I have? That was,
Colors in cyan. Did Jason get adequate direction from the committee for those?
I think we've talked about all of them, and I don't think we recommended any modification in a couple of places. So I think we view it as a work in progress, and if something comes up, we still have a save that at county board if we need to change something else.
I think I'm fine with all the stuff that's in blue. So, or at least I
Some of these
understand.
things, comments or questions we put in for discussion
Mm-hmm.
and discussed it and then didn't change it. So I'm
Yep.
saying that we resolved it to our satisfaction. Hard to remember every single thing over the last, how many months,
6
right?
months.
So. Any further comments by anyone? If not, I'm gonna close the public hearing. Hearing none, public hearing is closed. So, I'll be ready to make a motion to move these amendments to county board.
Motion to approve this, be moved to the county board.
A motion by Supervisor Blumberg to move to county board, second by Supervisor Szymanski. Any further discussion?
We need to know it as amended.
As amended.
As adjusted, well, as the recommendations as of this meeting, move to county board.
Yep, that's part of the motion.
Okay, you got it. Made and seconded. No further discussion, but do a roll call vote on this. Supervisor Tucker. Is he still there?
No,
No, did he say?
He's out.
Supervisor Moore?
No.
No. Supervisor Szymanski?
Yes.
Supervisor Chuck Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Karen Locke Anderson?
Yes.
Supervisor Blumberg?
Yes.
Supervisor Conroy, yes. 5-2, motion to carry, move to county board. Okay, on to our budget request.
Stop sharing my screen here. Save. Save. Let's see.
Will this be at the county meeting coming up in a couple weeks? This part, the ordinance
The
thing,
amendments that be coming up at the next county board.
okay.
All right, let's.
So that would be on Thursday, the 21st.
Sounds right.
Thank you.
All right, budget request. Let me open that document here. All right, I don't know what page it is in your packet where the, I should open that packet so I can be on the same page as you guys here.
I don't know, I'm not finding one. 79, I think. When I lit it up,
78 is where it starts.
okay.
$79?
Yep.
78 or 79.
Yep. So 79 in the packet there is the 2026 land services budget request. This is just the zoning and property information divisions, the conservation division. That committee reports to natural resources, so that budget goes through that committee. So basically, I'll go through here. We have the first couple of line items are some grants. We typically don't budget for those in a year because they vary. You'll see that first line there, you know, the grant was 38,000 one year, 47, 60, 60. The next grant was 60, 70, then it dropped all the way to 10. So we typically don't budget for that stuff. And a lot of those grant monies are used to offset salaries for our GIS staff. We're doing a lot of the mapping and for some of the field survey work that we do. There's $1,000 grant. That's the consistent one that we get every year. So these grants here come from a portion of the recording fees. So when a document is recorded, a portion with every registered deeds in the state of Wisconsin, a portion of that money is sent to the state. What the state does then is they give grants back out to the counties with that money, and it's meant for land records modernization activities. So that money depends on how high or down, up or down the recordings are, that pot of money goes up or down, and then it gets split up to the counties. So that's why it's kind of variable. That grant money goes up and down. Revenue, I put in there, the same 300,000 expected for, that's what I put in, for this year and next year as well. We're pretty, you know, we were hitting a little over 300,000 if you look at years 22, 23, 24. On the actuals that came in. We are slowing down just a little bit on permits, but I don't see those numbers changing too much. Next section. Page 80. Property cleanup recovery, that's if we get, if we clean up a property. The cost that we recover from that, so we've only done the one parcel in 2024. Next item,
And there was a second parcel that was being considered, but then
yep,
property owner took care of it, or how did that work?
yep. That one, the Clam Lake one, there's another one that we have, we can still, well, there's two other ones that we have active, that we can clean up, that we have court orders that we can do. So we're trying to work with both of those other ones to have them do it themselves, so. Let's see here, so then we get to a lot of the personnel expenses, so these are numbers that are filled in by the admin department, salaries. The social security, retirement, health insurance, life insurance, section 125, unemployment. All those things.
I have a question on the salaries permanent. Was there a position added or we're just down 1 year?
That was a
Shift in?
one position was moved, that was what used to be Ann Lane's position was moved from conservation to my side of the aisle essentially, so that's why that expense went up. And there's been various vacancies over those, so if you're looking at actuals in 2022, 23, 24, there's been vacancies throughout all those various years. Let's see here. Line item 5194, that's Board of Adjustment. That they get paid for attending those meetings.
Items that are zeros. Did I hear you say that admin will fill those?
Or they're just zeros, like unemployment compensation, that's just zero.
I didn't know if it was built into the regular salary or if that was to be added in yet.
Like vacation pay, I think what happens is when someone takes vacation, they move the money from salaries permanent, regular into vacation.
Okay, thank you.
So I think is how they move those monies around.
Track it
afterwards.
somehow.
Yeah, cause at the end of the year, they wanna see how much vacation pay was paid, but it's all budgeted as regular salaries. Same thing with like PT, if you look at like the PTO line item, you'll see those are actuals in the prior years, but then they're all zeros going forward. Cause when somebody takes PTO, then they move it from regular salaries down to the PTO for tracking. Let's see. So the actual, so now if we go to page 82. So line 50206, our account number. That's, we contract with Barron County to do survey field work. So we used to have a full-time position. That person left in 2018, 2019, that did all of our field work. So now we contract with Barron County. So that was a cost-saving measure. And Barron County's been really busy, I guess, with their field work because in 2024, they didn't do much field work for us up here. They only did 5,000 worth. So, but we budgeted, we want them to do, that's a lot of corner maintenance, corner reestablishment. So like if a corner is just a PLSS corner is destroyed by road work, then the county goes out and resets that. So that's that type of work.
That relationship with Barron County has worked out quite well, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we're going on, 5-6 years of doing that, I believe. Yeah.
And we're already pretty close to fully remonumented, so
Yep.
the heavy lifting had been done in the past and
Right.
it's now more of a maintenance
Yep.
tracking.
We're close to being in maintenance mode. There's a few corners that we haven't done yet and along the St. Croix River, but it's all public land. Those are horrible corners that are gonna take, they're horrible to get to and everything else. And then a few pockets of the big public land that we haven't done a few of those corners in there. So, but yeah, we're pretty much in almost entirely maintenance mode on that.
Hey, Jason, quick
yes.
question, going back to, hospital health insurance, social security, do we really look at our hospital and health insurance doubling over the next couple of years?
Those are numbers from admin, so I have no idea. Let me look at it here. Cause those are numbers that we as department heads don't touch.
Okay.
It
It looks
So
like our
yeah.
actual amount for 2025 was 67,000 and 2027 forecast is 124,000, so.
But we budgeted 90,000 for 2025. Is what we budgeted, so I'm guessing and we have staff that some only take the single plan, some take the family, so that's how that number kind of moves around sometimes. If someone, their spouse loses their jobs and then they come on to family on us. So I think that's, and I think if I understand, admin always budgets, I think the highest family for everyone, I think. But again, that's more of a question for probably the admin committee because I don't get to put those numbers in there.
Nate did talk about a significant increase in the monthly county meeting.
Okay.
But yeah, if you look from 2025 budgeted to 2026 budgeted, it's it's 28,000 increase. So what is that, about almost a third?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, well, again, if they're using the family plan for everybody, that would explain that.
Yep.
They presume the highest possible and then hope for less.
Mhm.
Yeah, we're seeing that in all forms of insurance, having pretty steep rises these days.
Let's see here. Let's see, page 82, project area land information modernization 50207-001. So that is a non-lapsing account. Again, that's revenue from recording fees. So when a document gets recorded, a certain portion of that money goes to the state, a certain portion of that goes to this county account, and then the rest is kept by the register of deeds. So the money goes to three essential pots. That one pot goes to the state that they reimburse back to the counties for grants. This line item that I'm talking about here is the money that goes directly from the county register of deeds into this account. And this account is used for land record modernization. So, the county can't go and buy a snowplow, a county plow truck with this money. It's supposed to be for land records modernization to help, operate the website, getting permits online, all those things to get more information out there and, anything tied to land information, PLSS, survey corner sheets, anything tied to land is essentially what that money is used for.
Is aerial photography funded?
Yep, we paid for the aerial photography, the last couple times out of that account. We paid for, the LiDAR out of that account. So it's those big, cause those are those big projects. $100,000, so it's not hitting the county levy. We let that account build up and then we pay for those big projects. Let's see, field supplies, we got a little bit in there but again, you see, we haven't done much in the past. Keep a little bit of money in there. That's again for monuments we need for resetting corners, signs for PLSS corners. A few minor supplies like that. Telephone, cell phone, that's just stuff to operate for the department. Repairs and maintenance service, so that is stuff like oil changes on the truck needs new tires. That's where that account money comes out of. Property cleanup enforcement, that is the money that the county started putting in, I wanna say 3-4 years ago, maybe, right about when COVID or right before COVID, maybe 2020, started putting a small pot of money in to clean up properties. So that's where that account is from. Other contractual services, so we got 15,000 in there. That is for, we wanna get, one of the goals is to get the permitting. Right now, you can't submit permits online through our office. You can print a hard copy but then you gotta write on it, mail it back to us. So that is to try to upgrade some of that so we can take online submittals for permitting. Again, trying to get more, technology in place for people. So that's what that line item is for. And we planned on doing something with that. You'll see it was in 2025 adopted budget, and we didn't do that, and it's getting a little bit more complicated now that it sounds like the treasurer might be switching tax software, and we integrate with that software to pull a lot of data out of there, ownership information, addressing, all that stuff to operate our permitting end. So if they're gonna switch softwares, I don't wanna pay our vendor to, do some updates when then we're gonna have to maybe pull from a new software next year and pay for updates again. So I don't even know if that's gonna happen in 2026, to tell you the truth. It probably depends on if the treasurer switches, how good that goes, how early, late they do it in the year. So again,
Work in progress.
you kind of like a lot of things, right? Then we got your typical postage, that's all the letters we send out, permits, all the notices we do for public hearings that get mailed out to all the adjoiners and everyone. Office equipment, that's, various supplies that we might need. Copier expenses, paper, rent, leasing the copiers. Office supplies, again, that's more stuff we need to run the office, and we never use the amount that we budget in there. We always try to be pretty conservative with what we're buying. Dues, publication, registration, so that would be association dues, going to trainings, registrations for conferences, various things like that. Meals, lodging, mileage in county fleet program, that's the same stuff. A little bit of travel for staff to go to conferences or training events. Address assignment supplies, so that looks like a high number. And the reason it's that way is because, what was that, about 2021, we changed vendors. We used to order everything through Lang Enterprises, and Lang would bill directly to the township for address signs. So the county just would order the signs and then the bill would get shipped directly to the townships. When we switched to Badger State Industries, so the inmates now make our address signs. Badger State Industries will only bill one entity, so they bill the county for all the signs, and then we have to bill 21 different municipalities, so it kind of stinks that way, but, so that's why we prepay them and then we get the money back, so.
So it's essentially a wash then.
Yeah, it's a wash, and the prices are a lot cheaper ordering through Badger State Industries. I mean, it was almost like 40% less than ordering through Lang, so it's quite a bit of savings, so like a little bit of paperwork to do it, but all the townships save money on that, so. Clothing, uniforms, that's field staff get a little $200 allotment for field gear. Maintenance agreements, this is for the 4 different softwares that we use. So you got Esri, that's our GIS software. That's basically all the 911 data, everything that Beacon, all the data that Beacon is using and pulling is coming from our GIS software. Beacon, that's our online GIS website for all the public to use. Ascent, that's our permitting software. And then we gotta get some sort of generic mapping program. We got rid of our AutoCAD license. It was getting very expensive and very complicated to use, so we got a small little allowance in there for something to replace AutoCAD. Let's see, what else do we got here? Employee engagement, that's the $50 per staff to use for engagement activities. Public notice advertising, that's essentially is the money that goes to the newspaper for all the publishing of all the notices for the BOA and the land use committee. capital equipment. So 2026, we need one computer. That's why it's $1,300. And that computer is for Derek. And we have no large capital equipment greater than 5,000 budgeted, because the last truck we bought was, we have two vehicles, a 19 and a 24. So we'll have to buy, we do them on a 10-year cycle. So in 29, we will have to replace a truck. So there's no big capital equipment on that for a few more years. And when you plug all those numbers in there, that's what you get at the end. And a lot of those, if you look at the change from last year to this year, it's all essentially in the employee expense stuff. Is where,
A little change comes from empty positions for a while.
yes.
So we stay fully staffed for a year once, we'll be
Mhm.
similar the next year.
Yep.
So Jason, am I reading this wrong, or do we really expect a, $384,000 deficit?
Yep.
So how do we balance our budget?
But we get, so the grant money offsets that. So if you look at the actuals in the past, the actuals were what, 2024 actual was only 150,000. We hit the levy. So that grant money and offsets some of that cost. So we budget that.
That 381,000 is shown in revenue totals. I think that includes the 81,000 expected in grants, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, it does.
So
Yes.
I'm just kind of wondering I thought I seen the county dollars going in being 300,000 and 81,000 in grants. And we see
Yes,
expenses
correct.
being 765. So I mean, I think the grants are already in there unless I'm mistaken on the $384,000 deficit.
Yes, that is correct, because we never used to budget the grants, but I put them in there this year. So if you look at our adopted, yeah.
How do we pay for that? I mean, does it get carried over year to year, or how does that work?
Well, it comes from the general fund.
So even though we approve a budget, possibly on this, your ask is $300,000 plus the $81,000 of grants. So then as part of the budget, do we get an additional 384,000 out of the general fund in addition to the 300,000 you're asking the committee for? Or how does that work?
So we have an expense of, that we're planning to be 712,000. We expect our revenue to be 381,000. So that means the general fund has to kick in 331,000. Yep. That makes sense. So the general fund is 331,000.
That's what's levied to the taxpayers.
Yes. Yep.
I don't know if Duke can hear that.
Oh. Did you hear that, Duke?
I did. And,
Okay.
but when I looked at the anticipated revenues of 300,000, is that basically from permits and those sort of things? Nothing from the
Yes.
taxpayers directly?
Correct. Yes, those are in, so those would be fees, the revenues. Yep.
Okay,
Permit fees.
gotcha.
So if you wanted to, we could adjust permit fees or cut costs.
Yeah, I mean, for me, everybody knows where I'm at. I mean, I like maximum use of property, and sometimes I feel like we have so much restrictions on people that cost extra overhead to actually put the restrictions on people that pay taxes. So I guess I'm kind of opposed to that, but that's just my take on it, I guess.
Need to figure out how to cut costs.
Yeah, I mean, well, with the restrictions that we do talk about on people and extra enforcement and eyes and ears out there, that does cost us money. And from my standpoint, we're spending money to put restrictions on people's use of their property. And from what I hear from general public, they don't want extra restrictions on their property. And now we're asking them for extra tax dollars to restrict them even more. So that's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Is there any way, Jason, to know like how much is spent on enforcement? Because the numbers I've seen are relatively small as far as how many letters go out and how many,
I mean, we don't track it
I mean, but
that level of detail, like,
yeah, because at one point you said that like number of letters that went out or citations per year. I mean, it's not a huge
no,
amount.
the citations are what, a 10 or 12 a year. The letters is a couple, about 200, 180, 200, I think, is, if I recall correctly.
Okay, and so that's just trying to let people know.
Yep.
What they need to do, okay.
I guess I look at it from another standpoint too, that, you know, let's say when it comes to business and they want to advertise their product, or if it's a startup business especially, and there's signage fees and permit fees. Every time we do that, it hampers the sales of products in the county. And then we don't have the sales tax revenue of 0.5%. So it's almost like, in some ways, we're asking individuals to pay to have a sign to advertise the products they sell, when actually the products they sell helps us gain revenue in the county. And to me, it seems counterproductive. But like I say, it's just my take, and I'm only one of many people on the board, so.
What, Duke, I'm confused. Can you explain what kind of signs are they getting charged for?
Well, any conditional use permit that somebody has to come to the building for, it costs them time out of the day and money to apply for the permit, and there's
No,
restrictions
you're
on.
talking about a business, what, you said they were getting charged for signs.
Well, yeah, if you have to pay for a sign permit, or if you get say a letter saying, hey, you can't change the content of a sign, those sort of things, it hampers business. And when it hampers
Put a
business.
sign on your own building, correct?
Excuse me?
You're talking about signs that are posted along the roadway.
We have
I'm
a
just saying
permit,
signage
we have
in
a
general.
permit fee for signs.
Even
Yeah.
on buildings, I think.
Signage in general. I mean, I read the
it's-
sign ordinances completely here not too long ago, and, you know, we do have state ordinances for signage already, and ours go quite a bit further than what the state's does. I just feel as though it hampers our commerce in the county, and, you know, if we have a 0.5% sales tax, to me, I'd like to see us gain more sales tax through more sales, and when we limit people's signage or their ability to have signage, it costs us money.
And Duke, I agree to some extent, but also our county is largely funded by tourism. And I don't think people come to see signage. And so I think it's a balance. I mean, I think these are discussions worth having, but I think, you know, basically everybody having signs, multiple signs. I think there need to be some limitations, but yes, I think it's a discussion worth having, but by allowing something in one area, you might actually decreasing income in another area.
Something
No,
to keep in mind that,
point taken. I'm only one of 21 supervisors on the board. My perspective may not be shared with everyone else. I appreciate yours as well, but I just feel we're too restrictive. We limit our growth.
a lot of things that we do are based on state level regulations on state highways. Shoreline zoning is a state mandate. It's not something the county decided it would do on its own. And so, you know, the vast majority of where our activity lies in the shoreline areas, really. And again, that is not an elective, that is a mandated from the state operation. Counties are creatures of the state. We don't operate independently.
Yeah, we've gone beyond the state regulations. I've read both, but that's my take on it. I guess I'd like to see us, you know, take care of our employees very well. If we have employees that are working very hard, we maybe don't need as many employees to enforce, and if we don't have so many regulations. But constituents I have, they want to see lower taxation, they want to see less restrictions. So that's why I make the comments I do. So thanks.
Okay. Noted. So proceed.
It should, I mean, then, so the rest of the stuff in that budget packet, is the capital equipment list for 26, 27. Then there's a for both the zoning and property information division. And then there's another form in there where we're asked to project out to 5 years for capital equipment. So those forms are in there as well. Grant receivable form that is in there showing what grants estimated what we think we will receive for revenue. And then there's the land modernization account. Again, that's that portion from the register of deeds. That is in there as well, shows how much we started at the beginning of the year, expenses we've had, projected in revenue, and then expected revenue and fees in next year as well, so. And then I have the email in there from IT that explains the cost for computers and the ones that are up. And their replacement.
How often do you replace the computers?
IT tells us to be on a 5-year rotation.
Just because software gets old or?
I'm guessing that's why, I don't know. That's just what I think across the whole organization, it's on a 5-year rotation, and I don't know what, you'd have to ask IT, I guess, why they recommend that.
No.
Yeah, I do not know.
Okay.
Yep.
It seems like if you buy a computer today, it'll be obsolete tomorrow, right?
Some are probably obsolete when you buy them already.
Yeah.
That too.
And then there's a new report in there at the end that shows going back to 2020. The various expenses and costs. So lots of information in there.
A lot of work went into this.
Yeah, it's fun every year.
Did you learn anything?
No, I've been through it now like 18 times, so. Yeah. And it's basically, what is it, a 5.1% increase, I think is what I figured it out as.
Yeah, it's consistent with everybody else, I would think.
Yep.
Okay, so that, anyway, that's the budget request. Does it need any action beyond?
I think you need a motion to send it on, cause then it goes to the admin committee. And then it goes to county board, what, October, November, I think.
Mhm.
Yep, when they start push.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to move this to,
I'll make a motion to approve this budget and move it forward.
motion by Supervisor Anderson, second. Supervisor Shemenski. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
No,
Opposed?
no,
Duly noted. Land services report?
All right, the reports are in there. You can see the numbers. What staff's been working on year to date. All the expenses are pretty much in line with everything that we anticipated. Revenue's down just a little touch from last year, but I still see us hitting our 300 that we budgeted. 972 permits so far this year. There's a list of all the CUPs and variances that have been done. Staff reports, and Callie had a baby on the 29th, so she will be on maternity leave now here for a while, so down to staff, but.
That's gonna keep you in the field a bit more.
So that's about it for that.
The Tina's got Moon almost done.
Almost done mapping Meenan, yep. Big township with a lot of parcels in it, so.
Where are we at with that overall? Are we almost fully mapped or not quite?
Well, there's a little bit of cleanup we're doing in some spots too. I mean, we're pretty much fully mapped except for some of the public land. So I believe, and I think there's only like 20 privately owned parcels in the county that are not mapped because we're trying to wait. We need to get a couple corners that are near the St. Croix River to
True.
map those sections out.
And part of that is because our mapping is really close to survey accurate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a difference in some counties that it's just a good guess.
Yep, like Bayfield County does what they call cartoon mapping, where they basically just guess where the lines are, and then you look at a lot of things and houses are over the line and people get upset, and so we never did the cartoon type mapping, they call it. We waited till we had the better survey data before we mapped it, so.
Yeah, I know that's pretty, pardon?
Does Bayfield County refer to it as cartoon mapping, or is that their neighboring counties that call it that?
Well, I mean, when we go to conferences, that's what we all call it, and you map with stuff that you don't have any base to come off of, it's cartoon mapping.
The infamous
That's what we
rubber,
call it.
rubber sheet,
Yeah,
right, where you take the best guess
that's what
and.
we all call it, I don't know. I'm sure Bayfield isn't putting a big banner out that says.
No, I'm sure Dave Lee called it cartoon
Yeah.
mapping when Dave was there, yeah. Dave knew what he would like to do and, but he wasn't able to do,
Mhm.
right? Dave was the first real land records guy for Bayfield. So. Yeah, it's we're in much better shape than many places, no doubt about it.
But it took lots of years of work to get there, you know.
Actually, I was looking at some land in Bayfield County on a river with a friend who wanted to maybe buy it. It took me along as his consultant. And they had 10-foot contours is what we had to look at. Here we had 1-foot contours that would have been available. And when we got 2-foot contours, but you didn't put them on the map, but been a lot more useful.
Mhm.
But it's even hit and miss, but it's mostly public land there, same problem.
Yep.
Little isolated private 40. But anyway, yeah, that was kind of interesting to compare a little bit, so. Anyway, so we're gonna have my agenda in front of me, we're at the end of it, I believe, are we not?
So next meeting is September 2nd, that's what the day after Labor Day, I believe. Yep.
Okay. And I've already seen a couple of things on that agenda out.
Yeah, 2 public hearings, I wanna say, 2 or 3.
So, is there no further business to conduct? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Supervisor Szymanski, second.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Lacqua Anderson, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nobody. We're done.
And we're done with this ordinance too.
Well, we've got to all got to explain to the